Welcome back to Third Minute. I'm Zack Phillips, and in tonight's post-game breakdown, we're going to be reacting to Game 19 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins here tonight, 3-2, moving to 10-6-3 on the season. Lots to break down, so I'll get to all of that. Look forward to reading everything that everyone's got in the chat. I'll go through all the notes that I had for tonight, some of the main takeaways, as well as always, we'll get to our play of the game. We'll get to our grades of the game, some of that stuff. We'll look ahead to some possible things that we think might need to go on with this team moving forward. But if you are watching right now and you do enjoy the show throughout the course of this post game today, if you enjoy while you're watching back, whatever it is, please show some support to the channel. Hit that like button, hit subscribe here on the channel, turn on notifications to help you get notified every single time we go live, recordings happen, anything like that. I know people watch these after the fact, and I could see the analytics, and guess what? Every time I look at those, it tells me that about 50% of the people watching this channel, watching the videos, watching the streams, they're not subscribed to the channel, so that's not good enough. We got to hit that subscribe button. It does help support the show, help continue to grow things. We're trying to get back to 1,000 subscribers here, so if we can hit that 1,000 subscriber mark here on this channel, that would be greatly appreciated. But let's get to tonight's game. I'm going to have some main takeaways on this game, some more general, bigger picture things with this team, with this organization, where things are at. First and foremost, get it out of the way. This is obviously the Dubas revenge game, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to hear anything about this team compared to, well, if Dubas was here, if Dubas was here, if Dubas was here. No. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to even go down that path at all, because it has nothing to do with what's going on with this team in regards to some of these signings or anything like that, in terms of why we're going to sit here and have these takeaways about why they're not a team that can win the Stanley Cup, because I mean, spoiler alert, they're not. That's something we're going to talk about throughout the course of this postgame today. And you see it, why it's evident in a game like this, or in a weekend like this, the back-to-back losses to Chicago, to Pittsburgh here tonight. There's some massive holes in this lineup. But first and foremost, just need to get it out of the way. Don't come at us with this, oh, well, if Dubas was here shit. Because, no, it's wrong. I see a lot of people right now already going at, well, Mitch Marner not good enough, Mitch Marner not good enough. I don't want to hear the Dubas people coming in here talking about stuff as well, because guess what? He's the one who signed 10.93. And I'll tell you what, very, very honestly, if Mitch Marner was not 10.93, we wouldn't be sitting here as frustrated with his level of play, because it's not about Mitch Marner isn't good, Mitch Marner is bad, whatever your argument is going to be about him. And I know people will come flying in, well, he's got so many points, blah, 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 to start this season. I get it. But he's not playing at a $10.93 million level. That's the biggest problem people have. I saw a comment earlier here in the chat, I'm trying to find it as I'm going through, said, Marner was bad again. When is the media going to address it? Guess what? Today was the first day that Marner was actually kind of addressed by the media and called out, in a sense, in terms of his level of play to start through the first 18 games. This is obviously prior to tonight. And on top of that, Sheldon Keefe called him out. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of reservation on that one, because we saw Sheldon Keefe call him out last year, and that was great to see. But then he immediately went and walked back his comments because Mitchie was upset and he hurt his feelings. So Sheldon Keefe goes after and says, oh yeah, like that was not what I meant. I shouldn't have said that, blah, blah, blah. No, you are allowed to call out players. Guess what? You're allowed to call out players. You're allowed to take away ice time. You're allowed to be hard on these guys, hand out punishments, not allow people to just get free ice time if they play like garbage, if they have terrible attitudes, and they kind of allow that to flow throughout the rest of the team. So, yeah, you're allowed to do that. Now, Keefe goes out and does that today. That's great. Let's hold off on the praise for Sheldon Keefe for going out and calling this guy out, because I've yet to see today's post-game press conference. I got no idea what tomorrow morning's press conference is going to look like. And there's a high possibility that Sheldon Keefe goes in there and says, well, Mitch, I shouldn't have said that. I was too hard on him. So unless he can at least get past that, then maybe we're in a good spot. But in terms of, well, when's Mitch going to be addressed by the media? Truthfully, it is right now. Any radio show you turn on, especially centered around Toronto, any TV, anything, they're talking about how Mitch Marner is not being good enough, and it's bang on. The other thing to throw out here for people, if you're going to sit here and talk about with what's going on with Marner and he's got all these points, well, he had back-to-back 4-point games. Those came alongside and coincided with some of Matthews' magical run, the power play playing incredible. That's 8 points in 2 games. That drastically inflates numbers. And that is something that he does in the playoffs as well, by the way. When you sit and look back at the playoff production and say, well, he had so many points. You know how often in these series against Tampa, Montreal, Boston, they have a game or 2 games where they put up a bunch of points and he contributes to like 75, 90, 100% of those points scored in that game. And you walk away at the end and say, well, he was point per game. Well, he also went 4 games in that series without points. That's kind of what's happened to him so far to start this season. And you can look at just the numbers and look at just the stats of these things and say, well, he has X goals, X assists, X points to start the season in whatever game. So he's point per game. That's great. Watch him. Every now and then, the Excel boys got to kind of just close your laptop screen and just actually watch what's going on the ice, because yeah, it's great to be able to build these models that tell you what's going on. I love them. I love being able to use them. I love being able to use them to bet and help understand how teams are performing, where teams are trending, if they're getting lucky, unlucky, whatever it is. But sometimes it feels like these guys have no fucking clue what it is that's going on the ice in front of them. And right now, Mitch Marner seems to be a prime case or candidate for some of those guys. We're like, oh, well, points are good, numbers are good, he's doing stuff. No, he's not. Watch him. He's losing battles. He gets knocked off the puck. He makes bad plays. He's got this sassy look about him every time something wrong happens with him. It's been a tough start to the season with him. And the thing that I've had the biggest problem with is not, oh, you have a tough start to the season. It happens. Guess what? Matthews has not played that good or that well the last few games. Nylander now 2 points or 2 games without a point. He didn't play that great here tonight. I thought he was fine the other night, but he also didn't play that great here tonight. Those guys don't get all pissy and sassy and stick swinging and have bad body language. They talked about it on the broadcast, and that was one thing that I was watching, and it's one thing that I've been frustrated with in years past, is not because he goes on these droughts or he makes these plays. It's because of the reactions to them. You know how many other guys around the league that are actually in position to be superstar players react that way, react with that pissy, swing your stick, GTHL, 13-year-old pee-wee hockey player attitude when something goes wrong? Is not many. Didn't mean to single out GTHL. It's more he just played there. That was the point. So apologies to the GTHL people. But it's just, that's not conducive to being a superstar or being someone who can lead a team or that other people on your team can look up to pull you into the fight. You are allowed to get pissed off. I got no problem with that. I actually would prefer that. I would prefer to see a guy on the team like McKinnon taking a helmet and throwing it at a guy. Show me some life. Show some fight. McDavid chasing down Pietrangelo last year in the playoffs. Show some life. These guys don't have it. These guys just don't have the character. This is an unserious organization that does not have a true shot at winning the Stanley Cup. Teams like Florida, Tampa, Vegas, Colorado, Dallas, probably missing some, Boston. Those are real contending teams. Those are teams that have a legitimate chance to win because they have the skill throughout their lineup. They've got the coaching to coincide it. And then on top of that, they have the character in that locker room. They have the ability to battle through adversity. They have the ability to not give up, not be ever out of a game. And by the way, this is back-to-back nights where this team goes out and blows fucking leads. That's horseshit for a team that thinks that they're going to go out and win a Stanley Cup. That's not what you do on the road against a bad team, first of all, with Chicago. Yeah, they've got Bedard, but Hall out for the season. Corey Perry is missing in action. Soderblom, their goaltender, stinks against every team in the NHL except somehow the Maple Leafs. I get that they've got Connor Bedard, but outside of that, they're fielding mostly an AHL lineup. And then you go into Pittsburgh here tonight. Guess what? Yeah, they've got Sidney Crosby. They've got Evgeni Malkin, Chris Letang. They're not really a good team as a whole. They haven't been playing that well. And Toronto goes in there and takes a lead and then just hands it back. This is the makeup and the mentality of this team, and it has been for 7 years now. That's why this team is not a serious team. They're going to win games. We're going to be happy about them winning games. And I get that. They're going to have regular season success. They will. They will not win the Stanley Cup. Playing this way, with this mentality, and this lack of character, they will not win the Stanley Cup. So, kind of had to get that one out off the top. I'll read through some of the chat, see what people are saying, how you guys are feeling about things. If you do enjoy the content, you do like the show, please make sure to hit that like button on the stream here today. Hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on notifications here on the channel. It does help support. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here. So please hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. I do appreciate all the support. I appreciate everyone who came across here. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Yeah, and as Loretti29 saying, Country Boys Club. It kind of is. Like, that is what's going on. They're happy. They're regular season heroes. Put up a bunch of points. That's great. Is that the goal, or is it to win a Stanley Cup? Denver, Charlotte, Blah, Zack, can you see the Leafs missing the playoffs? I can. The thing is, you have some other teams here now who just have some life. If this team's just gonna coast through and expect to win games because they put on the Maple Leafs jersey, because on paper their team is better than the other team, that's not going to get you very far. Not in the National Hockey League. Because on any given night, any team can win. And I know that you're going to sit there and say, well, then obviously the Leafs could lose, because on any given night, the Leafs could lose. I get that. The point is that the serious teams, the cup contending teams, don't let it happen this frequently. We are watching the exact same thing happen here. You say, well, this happened at the start of last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. That's the problem. This is the same goddamn team you see every single year. So why, through 20 games to start this season, would you be inclined to believe that anything with this team or how this season would transpire at all, whether it's through the regular season or into the playoffs, would be different than we've ever seen? What would lead you to believe that? Because you have superstar players who go no-show for games. You have superstar players who get pissy and disappear mid-game because they're upset with how things are going. They won't allow the coach to call them out. They won't be held accountable. They won't live up to their contracts. On a nightly basis, I guess I should say. Struggling with goaltending. Struggling on defense. Your second power play unit is outperforming your number one power play unit. You hand away points to bad teams. Yesterday, yeah, you can say, well, we got a point. Nice. You should have had two. You had a 3-1 lead against the Chicago Blackhawks on a Friday afternoon in a game that they were sitting there going, holy shit, we want to get out of here and go eat some turkey. And yet you said, here, you win this game. We'll take the one. Tonight, against Pittsburgh, not a great team. You've got a lead. You've got an opportunity to step on throats. You lose the game in regulation. 29 seconds left in the second period. You're allowing goal in your own zone off of your defensive specialist, the one guy Sheldon Keefe trusts more than anyone in the world to take faceoffs because he's putting him out on overtime shifts to start the game instead of Austin Matthews. If you want to talk about fucking coddling players, look at that first and foremost. And David Kampf loses the draw in the D zone. Now, yeah, you lose these. I get that. You don't go 100% through a game. But if he's your most trusted player and he goes out against Pittsburgh's fourth line against Jeff Carter, who hasn't had a point all season, wins a draw, Erik Karlsson, one-timer in the back of your net. Jeff Carter, first point of the year. Kudos to him, but like on the flip side, what the hell is going on? These are the breakdowns. These are the problems that are just so consistently built into this team. This is why they are not a serious organization. This is why they are not a serious cup contending organization. There's a lot to be fixed with this team. There's a lot to dislike with this team. Let's go through the chat. Read through what some of you guys are saying. Go through kind of rapid fire, see what's going on. Let's see. JW. Gregor looked better tonight than Marner has all year. I will say this. These were my Leafs 3 stars of the game. Not in any particular order. I would probably go Nyes, Bertuzzi, Yarncroke. Those are the 3 best players on the Maple Leafs tonight. That's not good enough when you're looking around and going, oh yeah, you've got the core 4 that are making 45-50% of your salary cap. Nyes, Bertuzzi, Yarncroke. Those are the 3 best players in the Maple Leafs uniform. I would agree Noah Gregor was very good here tonight. Very good. I mean, I don't think it's probably fair to say that Marner has all year. He's probably had the games. He's had a couple of he had the back-to-back 4-point nights, so probably can't say that. But, like, I mean, yeah. Also, I see Mario Kart there saying, haven't heard Zack say anything about the goaltending. Is he watching the same game? I mean, Mario Kart, first of all, I said a couple times, not good enough goaltending. The other thing is your lack of defense is also putting these guys in some of the tough spots. And also, you can't just fucking blame goaltending, because are you watching the rest of what happens leading up to when the goals are scored? Yesterday in Chicago, Blackhawks' first goal. Marner, turnover at the blue line. Chicago comes in the zone. Leafs get the puck back. Marner gets the puck on the wall. He turns it over at his own blue line. Then he goes like this, and the puck ends up in the back of the net because Samsonov is over to the side. It beats him short side. He should have had that one, 100%. Piss poor play leading up to that one. Then it's in the back of your net from a terrible goaltending effort. Then you get the second goal. Lagesson pokes it from behind. Samsonov, no idea where the puck is. Puck pops out, goes in the back of the net. Third one, McCabe. All the time in the world. All the time in the world. He could have turned around and gone to his forehand and passed the puck up the ice. Jam job Austin Matthews in the slot with a bad backhand pass. Puck turns over. Dickinson, third goal. Like, this is game. Leafs fold. They collapse. They collapse like they are the Chicago Blackhawks at that point. Tonight, the Achari goal in particular. I mean, the first one, I don't really know how Wall is supposed to play that. He's got to go out and try to challenge the shooter as he coming across. It was O'Connor as he steps in. Crosby, cross ice, has to come out and challenge the shooter. Nothing there. Then it goes down to the side. Gensel wide open because no one is available to cover. No one picking up guys in their own zone in the back of the net. And then the second goal, the Achari goal. TJ Brody. Pass along the boards to Robertson. Robertson, not the greatest play. He probably could have tried to go back up ice, but he makes pass around to Brody behind the net. Brody fucks the puck. Can't get it out his feet, and then for whatever reason, he decides he's going to rim it around right to where Achari is. Now, as Brody comes out around in front of the net, he doesn't actually go at the guy with the puck. He takes on Nieto. The other defenseman in front of the net doesn't go out to challenge Achari, and Achari comes out and walks up across the goal line and rips it short side from about into a spot about this big, Watch it again. I would agree that Wall probably should have been more or closer over to the post, should have taken away more, but at the same time, he can't see anything there. And you can blame goaltending on on this, but that should not have even been a chance. That should not have even gotten to that point. Shouldn't have even gotten to that point. Donnie does dishes. Still only 5 wins in regulation time. Yeah. GD, if anyone thinks it's a Stanley Cup capable team, you're out of your mind. Yeah. Reginald, playing 70 is inexcusable, and then riding the top 2 lines for the last 10 minutes of the game. They were exhausted. What did you think was going to happen? Well, I mean, for the last whatever of the game, you're losing, so you're trying to get back. You also don't have a game tomorrow, so you've got some time. You're trying to win, so I don't fully blame them for doing that. But I do kind of agree with the 7D, 11 forwards. What was the point of that? What was the point of the 7D, 11 forwards? Because you're going to put your forwards in a position where they've got to play a lot of minutes now. Okay, you don't want to play Reeves. Well, Klingberg's on LTIR. You open up a bunch of money to bring in McMahon, Steves, Holmberg. You could bring these guys up to play in the lineup. You had a very clear opportunity to just rotate one out and one in. Go 12 and 6. No need to change things up. Yet, for some reason, Benoit had to get back in the lineup. I'm not even saying this is on him. Like, this is not, he did not play a shitty game, like, whatever it is. It's just that there was no need. There was no need. 6 1/3. Leafs aren't in lockdown, try hard, get it done mode. Well, they fucking should be. Why is Vegas, Boston, Colorado, Tampa, Florida, Dallas, why are they in that? Why can they play like that for the whole year? And Toronto can't. Because guess what? They fall apart in the playoffs anyways, so maybe try something different. Benning, way to get hemmed into your own D zone for half the game, Toronto. Yeah, they're not very good in their own D zone. Reginald's Marner constantly falling again. It's not that great. There's been a lot going on. Oh, yeah, Denver there. Leafs yet again show up for half the game, and they try to come back, and it doesn't happen. Yeah, not good enough. Aiden Simpson, Zack, the Leafs have 2 days off until their next game, so now there's really no excuse if they lose. I would agree. I mean, I understand the awkwardness of coming off that Sweden trip. The travel involved, the time change, just everything transpiring there. But then you did have a bunch of time off. You go to Chicago, you play an afternoon game, which is almost actually closer to keeping you in Sweden time there. Now you go into, you lose that game, but you're up. You should have closed that one out. You roll into the game here tonight. You're winning. You should close that one out. Guys, if you're watching right now, please hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications. As we're 20 likes away on the channel, or on this stream right now. Smelling salts. We're not going to go for too long here tonight. I will try to keep track of the likes. We'll get to 50. I think probably end just around 10:30 there. We'll finish that one off then. Not going to be the longest show, but continue to read the chat, see what's going on. But let's get to 50 before the end. Denver, Charlotte, Zack, do you think Kyle Dubas wrecked this team? I don't think he wrecked them. I think the main problem here still remains that the guys with Marner, Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, of those 4 guys, you have too much of the same character within the 4 of them that it becomes the team identity. And none of the four of those guys are the types of guys to... I don't know. I just look at the other superstars in this league and tell me that they have the same kind of character, the same type of identity that those guys have. Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, McDavid, Draisaitl. You can have pieces of these guys or a couple of these guys, but it's like you almost just have some of the... You just have too much of the same, it feels like, where the character or the mentality, the mindset of these guys across the board, of those four, is just too much the same. So it always feels like no matter what kind of pieces they bring in around them to try to change the identity and stuff, it just becomes confusing. Like, you're trying to overcompensate with added pieces elsewhere. That was one of the problems that we ran into at the deadline with Dubas, was like, hey, you go through 60 games, 55 games of your season as this identity. And then the last 25, you say, we're going to be something else. Which is why I was kind of happy with what Tree Living did at the beginning of this season, because I think that he kind of addressed some of that with Reeves. Regardless of if you like these guys or not, Reeves, Bertuzzi, Domi, and he was like, hey, look, Gregor as well, I would say, fits in there. I think putting these guys in is like, we're going to get ahead of this and fix them, put them into this build and this mold and this model and have them run like this right from day one, so that by game 55, by the trade deadline, it's at least partially there. So then if I go out and add another piece or two other pieces of this and add those kind of mindsets, those personalities, those characters into this locker room, it's not brand new to the guys here. Maybe you can just add on a little bit more. The other thing to it is, if you add Bertuzzi, Domi, Reeves into here, then as the season progresses, you hope that Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander can start to maybe adopt some of it, become more comfortable, become more confident. However you want to look at it, you hope that they can take on some of that. So by the time that the trade deadline does come around and you insert those pieces in, it's just an injection. And it just boosts what you already have and not gives you something you never had before. Because I think the problem with what we saw with the team before is it never had that to start the season. Look at last year, where this lineup was. Engvall in there. Dennis Malkin. Nick Ritchie 2 years ago. Thinking back to like who was in the top 6 last year as well. But it's all the same. Kerfoot. These are all the same super skilled guys who just fit in there. And then it's like, by the time the playoffs come, it's like, well, we're missing some personality. We're missing physicality and toughness, and we'll go get all of it now. And then it's like, well, why didn't this work? Well, they were here for a third of the season. So I don't think he broke them or wrecked them. They're a good team. I don't think he did enough to change things. I think that was one of the problems. But, yeah. I don't know. I still think that the top guys here, it's just like something's got to change with them. The old-fashioned dad, 3 games in a row, the Leafs lose their lead before the announcer's even able to say who scored. Yeah, I mean, that's also another problem here. The one thing that I've had a major issue with this team is Sheldon Keefe, and the way that Keefe has deployed lines after this team scores. And then it's like, finally here tonight, he puts the first line out, and the puck's in the back of the net with them. Like, these guys just can't be locked in for 60 minutes. I don't get it. Duke, Nyes, and Joey and Net look good at least. Rookies buzzing. Yeah, I think Nyes played really well here tonight. I don't think Wall was like the problem. He's good for a bad goal against the game now at this point. It's kind of become something we've gotten used to. We've almost come to accept. but like I don't think he's the problem for tonight's loss. Reginald Matthews isn't doing anything either. I think they should keep him off the penalty kill and conserve energy. I mean, he's not really playing that much on the penalty kill, so I'm not going to complain about it. I don't think it's a bad idea to have him out there. JW need to put Nyes on PP1 in Marner's spot. John and Nyes down low and in front of net. I don't mind that. That power play is overpassing the shit out of the puck. They're just not getting enough shots on net, not generating enough chances. Watching them is just frustrating. And the one thing that I've continued to say, maybe I'm going to be wrong on this, but it's how I feel about the way that they run it, is just like there's just too much talent on that power play for them to not score frequently. Like there is too many good players to stand out there for 2 minutes straight for them to not score. So eventually they will score. But I don't think that they function very effectively. I watch Edmonton's power play. I think that they've had a shitty start to the year, but I think that it's going to get going because I watched them last year. They are run and operate very, very well. That's why they were able to have a historic power play last season, is because they have all that talent and they're very effective with how they use it. This Leafs team kind of just feels like they're expecting to have opportunities, or they're expecting things to go their way. Nyes Martuzzi are flying tonight. Why isn't Robertson on the second PP? There's no shot threat. I don't know. I think that like picking apart the second power play, I think to me is insane, especially considering they're better, like they're performing better than the first unit right now, getting better chances. Yeah, continue to hit that like button, guys. I do appreciate that. Duke, thank you very much. Denver, I honestly wish Leafs don't make playoffs. Like to see people let go. I mean, I don't want to see them not make playoffs. I would just want to see change. Because the thing to me is that we're going to watch the same thing. They're going to lose in the playoffs again. And then they're going to sit here and be like, well, they made the playoffs. We should probably keep things the same. Might turn around. And then you could end up being in a San Jose position. Yeah, sloppy. It's just not good hockey. It's just not good hockey right now. Duke, the ice looked horrible tonight. More caught edges than I've ever seen. I mean, I don't necessarily agree. Here. Mark Masters just tweeted. I'll read this. Asked if he sees any frustration in Marner, Coach Sheldon Keefe points out that Mitch leads the Leafs in 5-on-5 points this season despite facing the toughest matchup every night. We're still building our group and building our game, but let's not pile on the negatives here. There you go. Effectively walks back his comments right away. It just won't, like, I mean, what's he going to do, I guess? Jump on the guy yet again? But yeah, not good enough. Aaron Stitch, it's a clown show in Toronto. Clowns throwing on money like whipped cream pies. It's wild. It's been a tough start to the season. Frustrating because it's just the same thing we're watching again. It's just the same thing year after year, right? Pro guy Zack, when do they rebuild? Like, they're not they're not going to. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, 6 1/3. Look, says Zack. It seems Zack's dedicated to being pissed all season. I mean, it just kind of feels like you're just happy with a good regular season and that's it. Obviously, don't want to have. You have no Stanley Cup aspirations. You don't care if the team wins it or not. Really just looking for a happy 82 games and some maybe franchise records, and then you're good to go. Because I think that the reason the other people have these reactions and say some of these things and ask some of these questions is because they look at this roster, they look at all this talent, And they sit here and think that with this team, this is a team that should be performing at a much higher level than they are currently. They should be aspiring for a Stanley Cup, pushing to win that, winning playoff rounds each year, even if they're not winning the Stanley Cup, but just reaching that new level where every single night that they show up, they're able to be in a position to compete, and they just aren't with this team. There are games where the entire team goes missing, and it is far more often than the serious teams that you see around the NHL. It is far more frequent than the teams I've listed who are the legitimate contenders. That's the problem. And I get it. I was much happier with this team 4, 5, 6 years ago because I could sit there and say, well, this team stunk for the last, 8 to 10 years. So now being in a spot to make the playoffs and have these players, it's nice. But guess what? Now we're 7 years into this, maybe even 8 with some of these guys, but we're far down the path. These guys are on their second deals, third deals for some of these guys they're going into. They're getting paid 10, 11, 12, 13 million dollars. They're setting league records for the amount of money that they're getting paid, and they haven't fucking done anything other than personal records. That is where the frustration comes in for myself, and I imagine for a lot of the people in the chat, and people online, people on Twitter, people sitting on their couches watching this team, is because they sit here and watch these players demand all the money, demand all the respect, have their coaches who won't hold them accountable, and yet when it comes time to perform, when it matters the most, when people actually give a shit more than they do all year long, these guys go missing. They go on the James Harden retreat where they sit there and say, well, I was paid for the regular season. I'm not technically paid for the playoffs, so I'm just going to fuck off. And sitting here saying, oh, well, you're overreacting to one game. The problem is that it's not one game. This is how this team performs for the most part for an entire season. And a lot of times they just get kind of lucky because they've got enough talent to out-talent the other team. But it's just so obvious at this point that it's the same team we're watching year after year, and they just don't have that second, third, fourth gear. So, yeah, this team is not serious. This team cannot and will not win the Stanley Cup with the way that they are. Yeah. All right, a couple things you got to get to, and then we'll wrap this one up. But let's get to our play of the game. While you guys are in the chat, before we get to those, actually, we'll remind people, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications here on the channel. Do appreciate all the support. It does help support the show, support the channel, continue to allow us to do more stuff, continue to allow me more time to make things to go into the streams, continue to upgrade the streams, that kind of stuff. We do appreciate that. And then we're getting closer and closer to having channel memberships. I'm trying to figure out what we can unroll here for the channel memberships during the season. I want to make sure you guys get value out of some of those things for the channel memberships, but obviously we'll have the emojis and everything going into the chat that you guys can use, like what I had before on the other channel, where it's like you can fire away personalized emojis, pictures of me, whatever they are that are in there. So you guys can get those, but hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. I do appreciate that. Fire away now. It's time. I want to hear what everyone has to say, what everyone thinks about what is tonight your play of the game. All right, tonight's play of the game. I want to hear what everyone else has to say in the chat, so let me know what your play of the game was. It can be anything: a save, a defensive play, a goal, a pass, hit, fight. On a normal basis, obviously some of those didn't happen here tonight, but fire them into the chat. I want to know what you guys are thinking for your play of the game. I think for me tonight, the play of the game is going to be the Matthew Nyes goal for a couple of reasons. One, he played an incredible game here tonight. I think he put up a career-high shots on goal for himself. I believe he finished with five shots on goal for Nyes. He just felt like he was all over it. He was all over everything. He was creating opportunities. He was creating problems in front of the net. He was drawing penalties, and then he gets rewarded with the pass, or with the goal that came from the great pass from Calle Järnkrok, where Calle Järnkrok skating out, passes to Matthew Knies in the neutral zone. Knies reacts and realizes that Järnkrok's on with speed going up the side and going to have room. Passes it out to Järnkrok, who drives down wide. As he does so, Knies drives the net. You've got Matthews coming in third man high. You had defenseman high, but Järnkrok has the recognition to go pass off pad far side to Matthew Knies, who buries that. Matthew Knies actually again then tried it in the third period or second period himself. Steals the puck from Erik Karlsson, recognizes he's not going to have a lane to the net, recognizes that the pass directly isn't there to Marner coming in high, looks pass, and as he gets there, bang, rips it, pass off pad to Mitch Marner, just unable to bury there. But I think that was a great play. We do have a super chat. All right, our guy Michael. Appreciate the super chat, Michael. Michael's saying, hi, Zack. The coach, goalie, defense is average. Lack of playoff experience, lack of grind. Tree has more issues than he anticipated thanks to Dubas. Keep 34, 88, 23, and retool. Hope turn around a few years. Okay, so I would say the coach, sure. Defense, average. Yeah, I would say goaltending, it's just not good enough right now. Lack of playoff experience, don't give me that. Just don't give me that. That's garbage to say lack of playoff experience. Giordano, Brody, Riley's been here long enough. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they've gone to the playoffs every single year. Tavares has gone to the playoffs with these guys every year. He's been here. Järnkrok's been in the playoffs plenty with Calgary, the Leafs now. Seattle, he was there. Nashville, he saw playoffs. Like, look up and down this lineup. There's plenty of playoff experience. I think the lack of playoff experience is the most bogus statement possible because, like, all we hear about this team is lessons. At what point do you learn the lessons and actually start to apply them to your game? You just learn forever. I mean, I guess you do technically learn forever. I mean, you're always learning. You should never stop learning. But what is this? At some point, apply them. Apply the lessons. I don't think that there's a lack of playoff experience. I think I agree for the most part with the first pieces of what you said. I do appreciate the super chat as well. Thank you very much for that. But no, like, I can't get to where you're at in terms of this team has a lack of playoff experience. I don't see it that way. I do not agree. I don't see it that way. Yeah, I just don't. Also, by the way, I do appreciate the super chats. Obviously, we don't have to do those. I'm not ever going to ask people for money. I do appreciate it, so thank you very much. But here's what I will say. I'm going to send it in the chat there. If you see that link that is pinned I'll pin it at the top of the chat there. I am trying to raise money for Movember. That's why I'm growing this thing. But if you're going to donate any type of money, or you want to do that, or you want to contribute to anything, please use that link, the Movember link there. Trying to raise money for men's health and awareness. So please go over. That's where I would ask that you direct the money to. I do appreciate the support. I appreciate the donations, but I'd say that's where to go. I thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, gave my play of the game. You guys told us yours. We will wrap this up shortly here. 45 minutes into the post-game show here now. We got another thing to go. That would be the grades of the game. So fire away your grades in the chat.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
All right, grades of the game. I want to know what everyone else is thinking for what their grades are from tonight. I've got mine. It's a road game. You had a lead. You had an opportunity to win. I think I'm going to go with like a C+. You generated opportunities. You didn't play, or your goaltending wasn't terrible here tonight. But again, it's like some brain dead plays. Your penalty kill was actually better. I don't think Keefe's decision making was that bad. I really didn't like the decision to go with 11 and or 7 and 11 going into this game. I don't think that was necessary. You blow leads back-to-back games here now. Yesterday was a shitty one against a worse team. You lose it here to Pittsburgh tonight. Obviously not a Pittsburgh caliber, but like, again, not a great team. And by the way, this team continues to show patterns of just playing to whatever level of competition their opponent is. It's Arizona, Chicago, San Jose. It's going to be a close game. Actually, probably very likely they lose. And these not great teams. Then you go into Boston, Colorado, Dallas, Vegas, play them really tight, play them really tough. Guess what? Those upper echelon teams don't actually play like that all year long. That's why this is an unserious team. You go into a game like tonight, and you just fucking roll them. Like what Colorado did to Vancouver. If you're a serious team, a serious contender, you take care of business. This Leafs team feels incapable of doing that and rising to the occasion. It's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. I'm going to go with a C+ here tonight. Going with a C+. I'll give you guys a quick opportunity here while I kind of recap, but 4 more likes, do the smelling salts, get to 50, hit the like button here on the stream. I do appreciate all the support. I appreciate that. But let's recap where I was at. My 3 stars of the game for the Leafs. If you're going to go through that, just think about the players that I think stood out the most or played the best. First and foremost, Matthew Knies. Second, Tyler Bertuzzi. And third, Calle Järnkrok. Järnkrok played a lot of minutes. He had a lot of opportunities. And I think he looked good no matter what line he was on, no matter what role he was in. Bertuzzi really, really starting to look like he's fitting into that line on the second line. Second line continues to be the best of the Leafs lines, which is sad to say considering how much the first line is being paid, but second line continues to be the best line, and I think it's in part or mostly because of Bertuzzi and the impact he's making and him figuring out his role and how he fits in with those guys. He's a puck retriever. He's a physical guy. He can stir shit up in front of the net, but guess what? He's also got some skill to his game, and he's displaying some of that. I think we're in a spot with him where he's just going to continue to get better and better as the season goes on. And then Matthew Knies, I think, had his best game of the season here so far. Maybe not from a point production night. He obviously does get the goal, but he was very involved. He was creating opportunities, creating problems. I was really impressed with this play. All right, guys, you got us there. You got the 50. I do appreciate it. We'll do this as we close this one out, but thank you so much for the support. As always, thank you for hitting that like button. If you're watching it after, continue to hit like. You don't need to stop just because you're watching the replay. Thank you so much for the support. Here we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for hitting the like button. Thanks for following along here tonight. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Continue to do so. Subscribe here to the channel. I do appreciate that. Turn on notifications so you get notified every time we go live, every time more videos come out, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, before we can even get out of here, we do have another one, so I'm gonna get to it. Michael. Super chat from Michael. Thank you very much, Michael. Michael says, I meant no one in team who wants Stanley Cup experience. I mean, I don't think that matters that much. You don't win the Stanley Cup until you win it, so it doesn't really matter. And just being a Stanley Cup winner does not necessarily mean that you're going to be able to contribute that elsewhere. They've had guys come in who won Stanley Cups. It didn't just magically get them one. Thank you to everyone who tuned in here tonight. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support as always. That's going to be it for this stream. Game 19 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing this one to the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2, moving to 10-6-3 on the season. Thanks for tuning in, and Leafs fans, as always, keep believing.